Before we get into this episode, I would like to make a quick disclaimer that all of Society Inspired's interviews and the information we share are 100% for learning experience and to hear the different sides of the various issues we discuss. We never endorse nor support violence, and we are committed to promoting peace. I want to create a safe space for learning and comfortable place for people to be able to start to speak. Hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 22nd episode of Society Inspired. My name is Gemma. I am a 16-year-old Palestinian American teen. I'm so excited to have Arissa Roy as our special guest for episode number 22. Would you like to introduce yourself, tell us your story, and also share your preferred pronouns, please?
Yeah, for sure. So, hi everyone. First of all, Gemma, thank you so much for having me on Society Inspired. I am so grateful to the internet that we were able to connect.
Yes.
Um, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Arissa Roy. I use she, her pronouns, and I am from Toronto, Canada. I would say, just to summarize kind of what I do and my passions, I'm a youth activist, specifically working to advocate for more access to education and quality education globally. And I'm the founder of an international youth organization called Project Power Global, as well as I am a children's book author and recently filmed a documentary, which is coming out in a few months. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, overall, I'm just really passionate about making a difference in the world and empowering other young people to do the same.
Awesome. Yes, we'll get into all of that. As you said, you're the first youth activist I've interviewed on the podcast, which is very exciting. What inspired you to start your advocacy journey for redefining education?
Yeah. So my story started back in 2017 when I went on my very first trip to India. So my family is from there. I have a lot of relatives still living in India, across the country. And because I've grown up in Canada, I was quite sheltered to a lot of the different issues happening outside of my country of Canada, and just like didn't really understand the inequalities that are definitely more prevalent in some of the global South countries that we see.
Yeah.
And I went to India when I was just like 12, and I guess I was quite shocked by the difference in society between, the one I live here in and the one that's over there. Not to say that there aren't issues, across Canada. There certainly are many.
Yeah.
But I think going there, you see it maybe more right in front of you than you might here, especially in the area I live in. So, yeah, I was very shocked, very confused, and I guess just very heartbroken to see that there are youth who, look like me, are the same age as me, speak the same language as my family does, and yet are being denied these basic human rights and opportunities. And so after that trip, I came home and I was like, I want to do something about this, because I kept thinking, like, why them and why not me? Like, why did I get lucky? Why did, like, it's all about those questions in my head. And yeah, after that, I decided I wanted to start a charity. So I came home, I pulled out this notebook that I literally wrote in, like, I just put everything in that one notebook. I still have it. And I was like, my charity idea. And I just, like, 12-year-old girls, like, jotting down all these things. And after that, even though I had like a plan and a goal set and the passion, I struggled with a lot of like confidence issues. And I was like, I mean, I'm sure you can relate, and I'm sure a lot of other young people can relate. It can be scary to start something new and something that might not be the status quo in a way for young people. So yeah, I decided to just not do it then. And honestly, my best piece of advice for anyone who is a young person, if you have an idea, just do it, just start. You never know how far it's going to take you. But it wasn't till 2020 when I we were all living in the COVID pandemic, that I realized just how connected the world is and how important it is to give back. And I was inspired by all the frontline healthcare workers that were literally risking their own lives to support and to help heal others who might not even have any relation to them. So I decided to pull out that notebook and I started the charity, and now I'm here, and it's been a wild adventure for sure.
Yeah. No, I completely relate to that. It took me sitting on this for 8 months to put it out. And I think what made me, because I released this June 2021, and I think I got the idea that I wanted to start something like this in
Yeah.
December 2020.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just listening to a podcast, and I just heard somebody say, like, put it out there and then keep working on it. Like, you don't have to have everything figured out right
Yeah.
away, which is kind of like I was on the treadmill and I just got off the treadmill and I went back home and I was like, Mom, like, I'm gonna do it now. So I definitely understand the sitting on it and
Yeah.
how scary it can be.
Yeah, yeah, for
Sometimes
sure.
you just have to have that moment where you're like, okay, I'm ready now, or
Yeah,
sign. I don't know.
I
Uh,
love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have mentioned that you created an organization called Project Power Global. Can you tell us more about your organization and how it fights poverty through education?
Yeah, for sure. So my org, I'd say the best way to describe it is we work on three key areas. One, community awareness. So we do this through social media and other,
Hmm.
like running events and certain initiatives to make people more aware of the current global education crises that our world is facing.
Okay.
We also work on grassroots levels, so we do on the ground work, some key projects that have been very successful, and I think the most influential in our 3 years of running now have been our Pen Pal program, which was an initiative to kind of bring a lot of the experiences I went through when I went to India for the first time to more youth and to educate more young people about what's beyond their own society.
For sure.
Um, and so, yeah, basically, the way the program ran is we connected students in northern India to a school in Edmonton where they went through the same 5-week program, which educated them about 5 separate global issues from climate change to period poverty and mental health awareness.
Okay.
And they were paired with another student from the opposite school. And they had the chance to discuss what they were learning, to hear the other person's perspective from around the world,
Yeah.
and come up with solutions to bring about change for these issues within their own community. And they did that with the support of the other student and having a new perspective. So that was really cool. And some other things that we've done this year, we ran our grief initiative, which was a partnership between an organization called Unsinkable and us. And essentially, it was kind of a means for us to address all the struggles that young people went throughout the pandemic and help
Mm.
prepare them and give them enough tools and education to move forward with their lives and with their passions and everything they want to do. With that project, we were able to reach more than 10,000 people. So that was really exciting.
Awesome.
Um, and then I'd say the third pillar that we have at Project Power Global is policy and policy advocacy. So over the last kind of year and a half, I'd say, we have been able to work in some higher level government spaces. I was able to represent our team at the United Nations Transforming Education Summit,
Wow.
which was a really cool opportunity to let the voices of our team and the young people we've worked with be heard by higher level global leaders. And we kind of served as like youth advisors to the work being done
Mm.
more broadly by the UN and member states.
Okay.
So that's been cool. And then just, we've done some work with UN Women and UN refugees and things like that. So, yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Wow. Okay. Awesome. And you've already mentioned, but you wrote a picture book called Rocks to Ripples, which has an inspiring lesson that anyone has the power to create change. Could you tell us more about why you wrote the book and the impact you hope that this picture book has
Yeah.
on kids or anybody?
Yeah. So so it was my 15th birthday. I'm 17 now for context.
Okay.
My grandmother, or in our culture we say nanima, or nani for short, I guess, passed away on my birthday. And that was a really hard moment for me, in a time where my family, I mean, went through a lot of grief and things like that. And something that I decided I wanted to do was create a way for her, like, key messages and kind of what she always used to tell me to, like, live on even past her time here. And so I decided to write a book that was dedicated to her, that kind of highlighted one of the messages she taught me, which is that we can all, like, create ripples of change in the world.
Mm.
And it's kind of like, basically the concept is, when you go to like a lake or like the ocean or something, I mean, you're in
Yeah.
California, so like you're right there. But you can like throw a rock in the
Inter-
water and like it creates like these ripples, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you never really know how far those ripples will go, and it just sometimes it keeps going and going and
Yeah.
going and going, and you can't even keep track of it anymore. And that's how I really see like kindness and making a difference, because I really think every action you take can create like a cascading effect.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know, like sometimes, so with this book, I've been able to go and present at schools and do kind of workshops with young people, especially in my city of Toronto. And something that I, get them to think about is, let's say there's someone who, I don't know, needs help with their homework,
Yeah.
and it's a friend and you decide to help them. Like, you never, and they're happy, and you support them and they're feeling less stressed. Well, maybe now they're going to be nicer to their mom, or and then the mom's going to do this, and like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just keep going.
Ab-
So
Absolutely.
anyway, that's the idea of the book. And yeah, it's available on Amazon, globally, if anyone is interested in
That will be linked below, of course.
getting
Um, You have received the Diana Award for your work. What was that experience like for you?
it. Yeah. So receiving the Diana Award was a huge moment. I remember I was actually at like a youth summit that week that I got notified that I received it. And I remember like opening the email, and I was shocked, because I know how selective like that process is. And it was a very crazy moment, and I just remember stepping out and like calling my mom, and I was like, "Mom, what's happened?" And it was great. And I think one thing that I'm most excited about this award, and I guess brings me the most gratitude, is how much I think more impact I'll be able to make, because as someone who works in like the social innovation space, and kind of works in this area, it adds a lot of credibility to you.
Yeah.
So I think with this, it'll open up a lot more doors for our org. And with me, everything I do is about impact. So yeah, it's really cool to be a recipient of the award. But the question I'm trying to actively ask myself, and I encourage and have talked to other Diana Award recipients as well, that we should be asking ourselves, is like, okay, what's next? How do we create
Awesome.
even more change?
Yes. Yes. With with this next question, we kind of touched on this earlier.
Mhm.
Um, and I think my main thing, especially with having you, because I think, I don't know, it's been difficult for me to find youth activists to interview. I think
Yeah,
it's more of like a social media thing. And so
yeah.
I'm very happy to have you on here. Um, but with this next question being, as a youth activist, it can be intimidating to speak your voice since we are deemed to not know what we are talking about.
Mhm.
Do you have more advice to help youth activists gain the courage to use their voices?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing you can do is remember that you have a story, you have a voice, and it's different from everyone else's. And that in itself is the reason why I think everyone deserves to have a seat at the table and a voice in the movements that you're part of.
Yes.
Throughout my work, I've also been a member of the Fridays for Future movement, which works on climate justice, which is founded by Greta Thunberg, which I'm sure many people know who that is. And, we've done a lot of local things within Canada to raise awareness about the climate crisis. And a lot of the times, like, you'll hear people saying, like, what do you know? Like, oh, you're just a kid. You're just in high school. Like, first of all, why are you even worried about this? Is what people have said to me in the past.
Yeah.
And I think you really, in those moments, you really have to know that the future is all of ours. Like, as young people, we are responsible for the world, in the future. And I think when you realize that, you feel you have more of a say in a way. So keep going. Don't really take no for an answer. Like, for example, the work that we've been doing with the UN through my organization, it didn't just come to us. Like, I had to reach out. I spent hours and hours messaging people, connecting with people on LinkedIn, looking on Instagram, like trying to find other activists in the spaces. They like the UN didn't just like send us an email and be like, "Oh, we'd like to invite you." Like,
Yeah.
we had not just myself, but like our team, we had to voice why we deserve to be there. And sometimes you're not always going to be given a seat. Sometimes you have to build your own chair, right? Like, that's the
Yeah,
saying.
for sure.
So yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah. Like adding on to that, I agree because
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like our generation is very different in if we see something, well, most of our generation, if we see something
Yeah.
we want to change it, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially looking at how our world is now and how
Hmm.
more open-minded our generation is compared
Yeah.
to older generations. Like
Yeah.
we want to be able to live comfortably in a world that accepts us.
Hmm.
It's going to take a lot of work to get there and to get all the things that are just basic human rights and things that we deserve
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
been
Sure.
just dragged along for so long. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't take no as an answer because the more work that we do like all together and the more that we have courage to speak, the more our world is going to like listen to us basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I love that. Um, yeah, I think I'm also so curious to know like what your journey has been with this, and I know you kind of shared earlier that you had trouble like those 8 months. What do you think like was the moment you realized you wanted to do something?
So I was living in Minnesota then when I was sort of curating this. I think what kind of initiated my idea is that I'm half Palestinian
Mm.
and the violence there had kind of finally reached like America. Like America was
Yeah.
starting to realize like what was
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
And it was like it was a main topic. It wasn't like, oh, this is happening, like, and we're gonna
Yeah.
grow. Like people were actually like, I was hearing about it, and people were actually asking me questions, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, well, people want to know, like,
Yeah.
and but then also on the other hand, like I'm hearing from adults on the internet, like, why are you speaking out about this? Like,
Mm.
you don't live there, you don't understand it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, my family's from there, my dad's from there. Like I hear first-handedly, like, okay, so let's do something. Let's, kind of reverse this idea that, you know, you have to know everything to be able to like learn or speak
Yeah.
or So I wanted to just make a safe space where people could, maybe ask questions and, not be uncomfortable to, like, want to learn and not be scared to. Because I
Yeah.
think it's another thing that with our generation, like, we're scared to ask questions in case, the conversation becomes uncomfortable. Like, we need to have those uncomfortable conversations to
Mhm.
move forward. Um,
Yeah.
so it was that kind of inspired me to start. I sat on the idea for a while, and in the beginning, I up until this year, it's been really difficult to find people that, are willing to be interviewed. I've been stood up a lot, like, I'll be like, "Okay, like, see you soon," and they'll be like, "Yeah," and then they'll never show up.
Oh my gosh.
And part
Yeah.
of me wonders if it's like, I'm a kid, they think I maybe don't take this seriously, so,
Yeah.
why waste your time? I understand that, but another part of it is the older generation realizing that we are serious and we want our world to be better for our futures, so
Yeah.
but this year, I feel like I've created, a bit of a community, and I feel like the people I've interviewed, I've been kind of like, "Okay, like, are there people you like to watch or listen to?" And I've just been kinda that's how I
Connected.
found
Yeah.
you, but that's how I've probably found the past 3 people, so
Yeah.
everybody's been so, like, willing to talk, and that's exactly what
Yeah.
I want this space to be, so
Yeah.
I'm happy with where it's going, but it's definitely been a difficult journey. There's been probably maybe 5 months where I didn't upload an episode because I was just struggling so much to pull it all together with different
Yeah.
people, like reaching out to 10 people at once and either
Yeah.
not getting a response or being left on red or so it
Yeah.
does take a lot of work, but,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, and I want you to know that, like, you're not alone. That's happened to me, like, more times than
Yeah,
people probably know that anyone can
yeah.
understand, and, like, you're doing a great job,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Thank
So, yeah, and I mean, this space is amazing, like, I
you.
was like, immediately, yes, like, I was looking
Oh,
at
so
all the
happy
work
to
you're
hear that.
doing, but
I'm so
yeah.
happy to hear that. I know
Yeah.
I know it's small, but it just all that matters is that people are maybe learning something or feel comfortable and,
Yeah.
excited to learn because I think, avoiding what's happening in our world is never going to help us.
No, it's not.
And that was another reason I wanted to have you on because you've done so much. And so it shows that it doesn't matter what your age is.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a lot of words. I've never
Yeah.
spoken so much in an episode. Um, okay, what are the next steps we need to take to make the school environment a positive and inclusive space for all?
Yeah. So when I think about this question, it reminds me of when I was at the UN, I was able to make like an intervention, which is like kind of a mini speech, but not really. Um, and it was like 1 minute max. And I talked about this, I guess, idea, or not even an idea, because I think it's a reality for many of us, but this like environment that our education system, especially in North America, has become, where, and I'm curious to know if you can relate, but I feel many of our classes and the way that our teachers navigate sometimes makes us feel like the only path to success is like memorizing something and then like spitting it out on a test, you
For
know? And I think to really make education more inclusive, more successful, and more sustainable, we have to incorporate more forms of learning, more opportunities, more hands on opportunities, and really bring in conversations about the world, about the issues that our generation is going to have to deal with to the classrooms. Because,
yeah.
like you said, avoiding issues is not going to help
Yep.
anyone, you know?
Yep.
Like, I really think that, for example, social and emotional learning and education is as critical and important as learning math. Like, that's my own
Yeah.
personal belief,
Mhm.
because, the way you present yourself to the world, it does make a difference, like
Yeah,
how you speak to people, how you interact,
for sure.
the emotions that you hold and you carry when you're in a conversation, like it does show. And so yeah, like that's what I think needs to be more improved. And the way that I think a lot of leaders can do this is by looking at countries who have already incorporated many of these things. I think it's Denmark that has one of the strongest education systems in the world. But there was like this documentary I watched. I can't remember now what it's called, but basically it said, and it was showing how students in Denmark go to classes for like half the time as people in America,
Wow.
and yet they perform like way higher
Yeah.
on like all the standardized testing. They also have like no homework. They have longer lunches, like more breaks, and they're
Mhm.
performing better. And so like I think what we need to start realizing now is that like memorization and like studying hard, like yes, it's important and it can help, but so is taking breaks, so is outdoor learning, so is like all these other things as well. So yeah, that's from a North American context how I think education, or not even just North American, but in many places around the
Yeah.
world.
But yeah.
um yeah, you know what I mean. But then when we talk about uh some of the places that we've worked in with our organization, like India, Nepal, Pakistan, places like that. Not to say that the education system is not super strong there, like it's good, but there can be improvements. And I think with the high ratio of students who are not even attending school, like the bare minimum, um, things that need to change there is like also societal norms,
Yeah.
especially around like women and girls going to school, obtaining an education.
Yeah.
We also see like lack of resourcing for especially like girls who are on their period, for example. Like they're not going to school if they're on their period because they don't have the products to support them being outside of home with their period. So yeah, those places sometimes you need to look at more of the like logistical issues that are prevalent for sure.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I feel like having those changes would even make the school social space so
Yeah.
better. It'd make it a
Yeah.
more friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
And
homeschooled, so I can take all the breaks that I need during the day, and I can tell you that school has never felt better because I'm like able to have a second and be like, okay, let's move on. So
yeah, that's
completely.
amazing. That's amazing.
Are there any resources other than your organization, which will be linked below, you would like my followers and I to read, watch, listen to?
Yeah. I think there are a lot of really amazing TED Talks that I watched when I first started my org, kind of about global education, that I will definitely share with you.
Okay.
I think checking out the Transforming Education Summit declaration that was produced, which is kind of a document that highlighted the discussions that happened in September 2022, which was the last major assembly of leaders who work on education and education policy. And during that time, we were able to develop a document which is like outlines the plan from now until 2030, which is the goal that the United Nations sets for
Oh,
all students to be in school. So I would check that out. And if you are interested in working in this space, it's really important to know what's going on with those policies. And then, yeah, if anyone is interested in working at my org, we are fully youth led, and always have opportunities to contribute, to join, and even just, if you want to follow along and support our causes, that would be great. And yeah, I mean, that's all I can think of right now, but there might be more after.
awesome. And then what is your social media? So,
Yeah.
uh, forgot what I normally say. My followers can find you after the episode, follow what you do. all the things.
Yes. Yeah. So my main social media, I'd say I use most frequently is Instagram. So you can find me on there. It's at Arissa, Arissa underscore Roy, Roy. So that's me. And then for my other platforms, if you look up my name, Arissa Roy, you should be able to find me there too.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. Make sure you follow Arissa on all social media platforms and check out Project Power Global, and make sure to follow our other social media platforms as well so you don't miss out on more interviews and important information. I hope you guys enjoyed the 22nd episode of Society Inspired, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.